1. The heart. From childhood betrayal to being used like pawns, these are some of the most heartbreaking moments in the amazing world of Gumball. And we start with The Heart, an episode that uncovers a side of Mr. Robinson we've never seen before. At first, everything seems normal. Gumball and Darwin are hanging out with Mr. Robinson, who, oddly enough, they absolutely adore. But the twist? Mr. Robinson couldn't care less about them. He proves this the moment he steps inside his house and calls his wife Margaret, mocking the boys and bragging about how he's been conning them into doing his chores for free. He even forgets their names. Wait, who was I talking about again? For Gumball and Darwin, this is like being stabbed in the heart. They saw him as family, someone they truly cared for. Once they realize they've been used all along, they cut him off completely. At first, Mr. Robinson celebrates his newfound peace. No more annoying kids. No more noise. But as time passes, the silence starts to feel empty. He begins noticing the little things he used to do with the boys. Throwing their Santa letters in the trash, ignoring them when they were in trouble, giving out dog treats on Halloween. And slowly, regret sets in. When Gumball and Darwin shut the blinds on him, the message is clear. They're done with him. That's when Mr. Robinson hatches a wild plan to brainwash them. Yes, really. But Mr. Robinson just doesn't get it. He ends up violating 14 international treaties just by trying to gift them some, let's say, unsuitable toys. Eventually, Rocky convinces him to do something totally out of character. Just be nice. Mr. Robinson, of course, struggles. His version of a compliment? Still, when Gumball finally explains why he was so hurt, something shifts in Mr. Robinson. He tries to cry, but physically can't. When they check, they discover his heart literally won't let him cry. So Gumball and Darwin decide to overwhelm it with love. They sing. They hug. They don't give up. Until finally, for the first time, Mr. Robinson's heart breaks just enough to let out a single tear. This episode is a perfect example of how Gumball seamlessly shifts between absurd comedy and deep emotional storytelling. 2. The father coming in at number 9. The father dives into the broken relationship between Richard and his long-lost dad, Frankie Watterson. It all begins when Frankie randomly shows up at the Watterson house after years of being gone. Instead of a touching reunion, Richard's family decides to make the moment as humiliating as possible for him, without Richard even realizing it. They dress him like a washed-up 80s TV character, mock his single black eye, and sing an entire musical number about how he's a liar, a thief, and a con man. And when Richard finally realizes what's going on, he's devastated. Gumball, Darwin, and Aeneas feel guilty seeing their dad so heartbroken. They try everything to cheer him up, rock music, jokes, but in the end, the only thing that works is food. Because if there's one thing Richard does better than anyone, it's eat. He eats so much, in fact, that poor Larry, the guy who owns every business in town, has to be taken away in an ambulance after witnessing Richard's food rampage. Later, the kids take Richard cloud-gazing to cheer him up, but everything he sees reminds him of his father. Richard never had a real childhood. Frankie walked out to get milk and never came back, and his overprotective mother babied him into adulthood. No wonder he turned out the way he did. So the kids come up with a plan. They'll help Richard and Frankie bond by doing all the father-son things they never got to do. But this is Frankie Watterson we're talking about, a lifelong con artist who thinks father-son activities mean stealing footballs, robbing mansions, and fishing wallets out of traffic. The episode ends on a bittersweet note. Frankie still doesn't know how to be a dad, but Richard still wants one. And somehow, in their weird criminal way, they start to connect. 3. The Weirdo. In 8th place, we have The Weirdo, a story about identity, rejection, and the pressure to fit in. Susie is known as the weirdest kid in Elmore. She gives people globs of mayonnaise, torn $100 bills, and other bizarre gifts. She's eccentric, loud, and seems completely unbothered by what others think. But that's just the surface. When her classmates throw away her gifts right in front of her, it stings. Gumball tries to spare her feelings by hiding it, but it's too late. Even the school bullies don't bother teasing her. She's just too weird to bully. So Gumball, feeling hopeless, comes up with a genius idea. Poison the water supply so everyone becomes dumb like Susie. Darwin talks him down, and instead, they try helping Susie fit in. They strip away everything that makes her who she is. Her personality, her appearance, even her way of seeing the world. And the worst part? She goes along with it. She tries to act normal. She dresses like everyone else, but nothing works. Eventually, she gives up and offers Gumball and Darwin one last gift: a pair of her own eyeballs. When they wear them, they see the world the way she does. A world full of chaos, imagination, and bizarre beauty. And suddenly, everything makes sense. The message is clear. You shouldn't have to change who you are just to be accepted. Susie didn't want to be different. The world just made her feel like she had to be. The Roots coming in at number 7 is The Roots, where Darwin faces something he never expected: being abandoned by the very people he loves the most. It begins in a pet store. Darwin stares at the fish tanks, his face filled with a strange mix of nostalgia and sadness. Nicole, trying to be a supportive mom, checks his browser history, yes, seriously, and misinterprets it, thinking Darwin is longing to return to the ocean. Naturally, her conclusion sends the whole family into panic. The idea of Darwin not feeling at home triggers Richard and the kids to take extreme action. If they can't send Darwin back to the sea, they'll bring the sea to him. First, they try feeding him live worms. Then, Richard offers him fish hooks. And somehow, he's the only one willing to eat them. After that, things just keep getting worse. Dead skin from Richard's foot, a literal bag of mercury. They're spiraling. Darwin finally snaps. He storms off to his room, confused and hurt. Why are they acting like he doesn't belong? He's always seen himself as part of the Wattersons, but now they're treating him like a fish. A Peter. Something different. The family goes all in. They turn the house into a fish tank, wear scuba suits, play whale noises in the background, and even throw Darwin outside to roll around in dirt. They're so focused on helping him reconnect with his roots that they completely miss how this is tearing him apart. The final blow comes when the Wattersons, thinking they're doing the right thing, take Darwin to a pond and tell him it's time to go home. And they leave him there, abandoned, alone. The look on Darwin's face as he watches the family drive away is gut-wrenching. He's stunned, but instead of accepting it, he runs after them, because all he ever wanted was to stay with them. It turns out the whole thing was a massive misunderstanding. Darwin had simply seen a giant fish tank at the mall and was trying to guilt Nicole into buying it. Still, even with all the chaos, the Wattersons come to understand Darwin better than ever and reaffirm that he's one of them. Not a fish, not a pet, but family. The Hero coming in. At number 6, we have The Hero, a story about respect, growing up, and one dad's desperate attempt to feel like he still matters. We all know Richard Watterson is not exactly the model father. He's lazy, immature, and spends most of his time avoiding any kind of responsibility. At school, Gumball and Darwin joke about him with their friends, until Richard overhears them. He's crushed. Nicole finds out and is furious. Not because the boys were being mean, but because Richard has taken it personally. He disappears into the shed, broken and ashamed. And the boys? They're grounded. No showers, no freedom, no escape. Until they apologize. But when they look inside the shed, Gumball sees Richard sitting with a plank nailed between his legs and just laughs. He thinks his dad is being dramatic. Darwin, on the other hand, sees something else. Richard is singing a sad, sincere song about how he used to be their hero. The guy who picked them up when they fell. The guy they used to look up to. Now they just see him as a joke. Darwin realizes something. The only way to make things right is to give Richard the chance to be their hero again. So they head to the junkyard and get themselves accidentally stuck inside a car crusher. Richard is supposed to save them, but because this is Richard, everything goes hilariously wrong. Their emergency safety button gets stuck, and suddenly the pretend danger becomes very real. In classic Richard fashion, he stumbles, flails, panics. But then, against all odds, he saves the day. He pulls it together just in time to rescue Darwin. But Gumball's still trapped. As he climbs into his dad's arms to escape, he flashes back to a childhood memory. Back when walking into Richard's arms made him feel safe. That memory gives him the strength to trust again. And just like that, Richard becomes their hero once more. 6. The Shell. Now we're down to number 5. The Shell. One of the most emotionally powerful episodes of the entire series, dealing with insecurity, identity, and fear of rejection. The episode starts during a school play. It's the final scene, and Gumball is supposed to kiss Penny. But instead of kissing her, he headbutts her hard. Crack. The impact breaks her shell. At first, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but then we learn that Penny's shell wasn't just for protection. It was a mask, one that hid who she truly was. Gumball senses something is off, but Penny brushes it off. She tries to pretend everything's okay, until she tells her dad what happened. His response? Furious. He's so upset that he kicks Gumball and Darwin out, and even threatens to transfer Penny to another school. Gumball is devastated. Later, Penny sneaks out and visits Gumball. That's when he finally encourages her to break out of her shell, not just physically, but emotionally. She does, and she transforms. She becomes this radiant, fairy-like creature. But instead of feeling beautiful, Penny panics. She starts shape-shifting uncontrollably, her forms mirroring her emotions. A towering monster when she's afraid, a fragile creature when she's vulnerable. She's spiraling, terrified that no one will love the real her. Gumball chases her through the forest, desperately trying to catch up. When he finally does, he delivers one of the most powerful lines in the series. 7. The Parents taking the number 4 spot is The Parents, an episode that finally explores Nicole's traumatic past. And it hits hard. It starts in a grocery store. Nicole is fighting off her kids, who keep trying to sneak junk food into the cart. Nothing unusual, until she bumps into 2 strangers in the aisle. Except they're not strangers, they're her parents. The moment Nicole sees them, her entire demeanor changes. She freezes, tense, wide-eyed. And that's how we know something is very wrong. Nicole is usually fearless, but around her parents? She turns into a nervous child again. Her kids, being the loving chaos gremlins they are, invite her parents over for lunch. Big mistake. As soon as Danielle and Mary Watterson enter the house, the tension is unbearable. And they waste no time criticizing everything. Passive-aggressive comments, judging her life choices, pointing out that she could have done so much more. We learn a lot about Nicole's childhood here, how strict and cold her parents were. They forced her into every club, pressured her constantly, and treated her like a machine instead of a daughter. We even find out her real first name isn't Nicole, it's Doctor. That's how high their expectations were. Things get even worse when they start talking about Richard. They despise him, so much that they literally tried to ship him off to Guatemala. And when Nicole married him, her parents sent her divorce papers as an anniversary gift. This is how broken their relationship is. Eventually, things start to soften slightly during a song montage sung by Gumball about family and reconciliation. It seems like they're starting to understand each other. A little. But just when it seems heartwarming, the kids remind us. That whole song was actually just about the Christmas presents they still owe them. Still, the episode manages to deliver some real emotion. It's a raw, honest look into where Nicole came from and why she is the way she is. 8. The Choices. At number 3 is The Choices, a powerful episode where Nicole questions her entire life and whether she made the right decisions. It starts in the middle of complete chaos. The Wattersons are being ridiculous as usual, setting fires in the kitchen, smearing whipped cream everywhere, and begging for food. Nicole is doing everything at once while her family descends into madness. Finally, she snaps. Time literally stops around her. She pauses to think, how did I get here? And then we go back in time. Young Nicole is sitting in the car with her parents, who already have insane expectations. They're upset that she has the wrong gender because they wanted a boy. That's how harsh they are. She's rushing to a karate tournament, but traffic is bad, so she gets out and runs through the park, where she meets a boy stuck inside a tree trunk. It's Richard. And at that moment, her entire life changes. The rest of the episode is Nicole wondering if she made the wrong choice. What if she hadn't helped Richard? What if she'd stayed focused on her career? She imagines dozens of alternative lives. Each alternate life is missing something. Love, chaos, her family. And that's when she realizes it. All this time, she never made the wrong choice. Because Richard was the first person who loved her for who she was, not for what she could achieve. The final montage shows her wedding, her children, all the messy and beautiful memories, and in the end, Nicole smiles. This life might be insane, but it's hers, and she wouldn't change a thing. 9. The Origins Part 1. Coming in at number 2 is The Origins Part 1, the emotional beginning of Darwin's story. It opens with Gumball being, well, Gumball, out of control, chaotic, bouncing off the walls. Nicole and Richard are desperate to calm him down, so Richard gets him a pet fish. That's when Darwin enters his life, except it's not the Darwin yet. Gumball keeps accidentally killing each fish, so Richard keeps replacing them. Eventually, he runs out of normal pet stores and ends up at a shady van selling the last fish in town. And this one is different. From the moment Darwin enters the house, he's aware. He watches Gumball, mimics his facial expressions, mirrors his movements. He starts to bond with Gumball, but then things take a dark turn. Gumball and Darwin play a prank, pretending Darwin is dead. Richard finds him and assumes, once again, the fish has died. But Gumball rushes in and saves him just in time. Then Darwin speaks. Nicole and Richard freak out. In their panic, they drop him and accidentally flush him down the toilet. That's how the episode ends. But it's not over yet. 10. The Origins Part 2. And finally, at number 1, we have The Origins Part 2, the most heartbreaking and inspiring episode in all of Gumball. Darwin is flushed all the way out into the ocean, alone, confused, but not giving up. He finds other fish, but they think he's crazy when he says he wants to walk on land. Darwin believes that through love, he can evolve, literally. So he does. His body starts changing. First, lungs, then legs. He painfully crawls onto land. He pushes through exhaustion. He walks through deserts, storms, and every imaginable obstacle. All for one thing, to get back to Gumball. Back at home, Gumball is devastated. He knows Darwin is out there, but no one believes him. His parents tell him to forget, to move on, but he can't. And finally, when Darwin arrives in Elmore and finds his way back to the house, we get one of the most emotional reunions in the show. This is the moment that proves Gumball is more than just a silly cartoon. It's a show with heart, with meaning, with deep emotional resonance that hits both kids and adults. Darwin's journey, from a tiny fish to Gumball's best friend, is a story of love, resilience, and finding where you belong. And that's why Origins takes the number 1 spot as the saddest and most emotional episode of the Amazing World of Gumball.